want you to know that with me in this community, you'll have an ally on climate change. And I believe, hopefully if we're elected in May, that I'll be sitting beside a whole lot of other allies in government who agree that climate change is real. And we know what we need and what you want is a government who will act. And Labor will act. What an incredible crowd here tonight. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of land and pay my deep respects to elders, both past, present and emerging, and what incredible leaders we have already seen tonight. And I want to talk about the history of this country, this great country that goes back more than 200 years, of course, and to say that Aboriginal people, my people, have successfully sustained and nurtured this environment for over 60,000 years. And it's incredible what we've seen happen to it in just over 200. And it's a part of where my passion comes from, to actually be a part of this climate conversation. Because it's people like my great-grandparents who were at the forefront of fighting for land rights and water rights for Aboriginal people, because they could see what was happening, but also when those rights are handed back to Aboriginal people, we know that they actually take care of the country in the way that it deserves to be taken care of, because it's a part of who we are. And I want to thank Victoria for your kind introduction, of course, and Carolyn for pulling together this incredible event tonight. Thank you so much. Jade, the singer, what a beautiful words. And of course, Greta and her incredible speech as well. I think that there is hope in the young people of our future. And I don't know if I'm still considered young or not. Possibly, I don't know. And we can just get to the point and say that we are absolutely facing a climate emergency. There is no doubt about that. And I want to be really clear that I accept the science of climate change. And I hear the Australian people and the people in this room who really want concrete policies to solve the problem. And while I'm at it, I actually just want to take a moment to acknowledge the many people in this room who have fought many, many years for us to be here tonight and to have this very discussion and to make climate the topic of the election for this year. And I know that it can sometimes be a bit relentless and it can seem like nothing is happening and people aren't listening, but I'm certainly listening to what you've got to say. And I want you to know that with me in this community, you'll have an ally on climate change. And I believe, hopefully if we're elected in May, that I'll be sitting beside a whole lot of other allies in government who agree that climate change is real. And we know what we need and what you want is a government who will act. And Labor will act. If elected, we'll implement a range of policies across energy generation, heavy manufacturing, vehicle emissions, and land use to put Australia on the path to be net carbon neutral by 2050. We will cut pollution by 45% by 2030 by extending Turnbull's safeguard mechanism so that it covers the top 250 companies. We will reduce emissions from energy generation by transitioning to 50% renewables by 2030. We will reduce vehicle emissions by introducing strong emission standards and ensuring that 50% of new cars sold by 2030 are electric vehicles. And it seems that we do have some bipartisan agreement on that, I think, even though there's some disagreement, possibly, amongst the party, our current government. And we will address pollution on the land by reforming the Carbon Farming Initiative and put protections in place to stop broad-scale land clearing in states that lack the necessary laws. Finally, but most importantly, we propose an orderly transition for communities and workers. And you will have heard this a lot from Labor talking about a just transition. And it's incredibly important because we need to make sure that we look after the workers who have kept our lights on and they transition into industries where they can continue to keep our lights on, but hopefully in a renewable future. Thank you. That seems really quick. And one of the ways that we'll do that is by establishing an independent Just Transition Authority. So carbon pollution cut by 45% by 2030, 50% renewables by 2030, 50% of new car sales to be electric vehicles by 2030, stopping broad-based land clearing and a just transition. These and others are policies that will put Australia on the path to achieving our net carbon neutral by 2050. And I think there's a lot of people wondering if we can do it. And I think that if we look at Labor's record in this area, we've had a history of actually making some change here. Under the previous Labor government, we saw emissions were going down. And under the current government, emissions are going up. Yep, I've only got a couple of sentences to go, I promise. Under previous Labor governments, we worked across Parliament to pass good climate legislation, including the creation of the Clean Energy Finance Corporation and the Australian Renewable Energy Agency. Under this government, their own party room would agree to Josh's National Energy Guarantee. Kooyong residents expect their local member to say what they will do and then do what they'll say, if I quote the great man Dan Andrews himself. And Labor is the only party that's united in acknowledging that climate change is a real threat to our country. And we have the policies that can actually make a real change, and we can form government so we can actually deliver on those policies, and I think that is a real difference.